So, time is in the gold, sitting on the low tide sands and rocks.
Thank you for coming tonight to this nationwide event. My name is Joanne Hart, and I'm a board member of the Gloucester Writers Center, the sponsor of tonight's event. Sinclair Lewis used the power of drama to rally voters and alert Americans to the dangers of fascism in 1936 with his play, It Can't Happen Here, which is based on his novel, It Can't Happen Here. Writers for Democratic Action and the Gloucester Writers Center are excited to present this adapted version, It Can't Happen Here, again. We are one of over 70 readings of this play across the country today. The day after Trump was made the official candidate for the Republican Party, dragging an authoritarian agenda behind him. Inspired by Sinclair Lewis's 1936 production that warned against the rise of fascism, this event is both an homage to that historic moment and a call to action in our present day. It Can't Happen Here Again is part of the movement dedicated to protecting democracy. This is our call to action for the November election. Malcolm Ingram has appeared on Broadway at London's National Theatre and in the West End, and has done extensive regional theatre work in the US and the UK. His performance in Gloucester Stage Company's play Reparations earned him an Elliot Norton Award for Outstanding Actor. Have you? Yeah. Cheryl Singleton is a Boston-based actress who is currently performing at Gloucester Stage in Wipeout. She has also performed on television and in film, and you may have seen her during pledge breaks on your local PBS station. Emmy Hone is an actor and designer trained at Carnegie Mellon Drama. Her next design project will be Wish You Were Here at Gloucester Stage. Barbara Keon is musician and performer, known for her comic alter ego, Indovina. I said it. And on cable and live on many stages. She is the owner of Dress Code in downtown Gloucester, where all my clothes come from. And Christopher Lydon is a lifelong journalist in many media. With the New York Times in the 70s, on WGBH-TV in the 80s, and WBUR-FM in the 90s. In 2003, he founded the original and longest-running podcast at Radio Open Source. It's a wonderful podcast. I listen to it. And now, It Can't Happen Here Again.
It can't happen here.
A statement.
A declarative statement.
An ironical statement.
It can't happen here.
A provocation.
A warning.
The ultimate denial of reality.
It can't happen here.
The title of a novel and play by Sinclair Lewis.
Which perfectly expresses the complicity
And complacency
of America in 1936.
And now, in 1936, the tide of authoritarian dictatorship was flowing.
In 2024, the tide of authoritarian dictatorship is flowing.
In 1936, Adolf Hitler's stormtroopers reoccupied the Rhineland, a signal of a forbidden German rearmament that went unopposed.
In 2024, Vladimir Putin began the third year of his full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
In 1936, Francisco Franco claimed totalitarian powers in Spain, and the brutal Spanish Civil War was ignited.
In 2024, the war between Israel and Hamas splintered the American left, threatening its ability to defend democracy.
In 1936, the Great Purge was underway in the Soviet Union, marked by the murders of 700,000 people. A tsunami of blood secured the tyranny of Joseph Stalin.
In 2024, Xi Jinping crushed feminist movements in China, silencing women who have accused powerful men of sexual assault. In North Korea, Kim Jong-un spurred women to seek refuge abroad at roughly 3 times the rate of men. And in Afghanistan, the Taliban's victory has erased 20 years of progress on women's access to education and representation in public office and the workplace.
And
in the United States of America,
On October 27th, 1936, in the United States of America, 1 week before a presidential election,
An election which would determine not only the fate of the New Deal, but of democracy itself,
21 coast-to-coast productions of a new play premiered simultaneously on 21 stages in 17 American cities. The play was called
It Can't Happen Here. Based on the novel by Sinclair Lewis, America's first and at that time only Nobel laureate in literature.
That play, like our performance tonight, asks what happens when dictatorship threatens democracy.
And less obviously,
What happens when complacency begets complicity.
in 1936, Hallie Flanagan was invited to do something big.
I was asked by Harry Hopkins, my former classmate at Grinnell, to lead the newly created Federal Theater Project. Harry, wouldn't you know, was head of the Works Progress Administration, director of America's first and only National Theater. Hey, not bad for a girl from Redfield, South Dakota.
She immediately commissioned Sinclair Lewis to write a stage adaptation of his novel.
It can't happen here, because it is a play about American life today. The play says that when dictatorship comes to threaten democracy, it comes in an apparently harmless guise, with parades and promises. But when that dictatorship arrives, the promises are not kept, and the parade grounds become encampments. We as American citizens should like to do what we can to keep alive the free, inquiring, critical spirit, which is the center and the core of a democracy.
the play opened on the very same night in Birmingham and Denver,
Omaha and Los Angeles,
A New York production in Yiddish,
a Spanish production in Tampa,
a black production in Seattle,
featuring white actors as the villains.
In an article about the 21 simultaneous productions, the New York Times wrote, thousands of Americans who do not know what a fascist dictatorship would mean now have an opportunity to find out.
and today, on July 19, 2024.
One day after the third consecutive nomination of Donald J. Trump to be the Republican candidate for the President of the United States.
Writers for Democratic Action invites us to a gathering for a reading,
And a call to action,
the play you are now watching.
like the one staged across the country on October 27th, 1936.
Is being publicly performed across America in bookstores and public squares,
Theaters and coffee houses
churches and bars,
in multiple cities, towns, and villages.
in multiple states.
We are gathered together to ask,
what's happening here?
What has happened here?
Can it happen here?
And
What can we do about it?
welcome all.
We so appreciate your presence here.
Thank you for coming.
Together, we can make a difference.
together we can make our voices heard.
Welcome all.
The protagonist of Lewis's play is a small-town newspaper editor named
Doremus Jessup, the Daily Informer, Beulah Valley, Vermont.
the populist candidate for president running against Franklin Roosevelt is a character named
Berzelius Windrip, Buzz for short.
on the campaign trail. Buzz Windrip makes a speech.
I am just a common man, a plain man, darn near as plain and common as Abe Lincoln, or that old Virginia hick farmer, George Washington, who chased the redcoats from the land, by golly, with a pitchfork. Folks were wrong when they thought this trip was to educate the people about Buzz. No, it's me that got educated. What grand people I've been meeting, and everywhere I have found the true American people divided, kept apart by the politicians who, in their insensate selfishness, befool the very constituents who have placed them on their tinseled thrones. We ought to go forth into the great councils of state, not asking for anything, but telling them, if you honor me with your votes, I shall not be president. No, I mean that, not be president at all, but the telephone central through whom every man in this great land can get in touch with every other man, so that for the first time since 1861, we can be joined in one unified nation that will sweep the world.
Doremus Jessup, educated, liberal.
Complacent.
Doremus Jessup, whose belief in reason over emotion naively extends to his fellow citizens, concludes.
It's not so much that I trust Windrip as that I trust that.
That what?
Quote from
That.
Quote from the original stage directions. With a wide gesture, he indicates the valley and the far-off hills.
Look! God's own free, open American country. Do you know how big Texas is? Big as any 3 European countries put together. This isn't any one-horse European country that a dictator could get hold of. No, sir. It's too big. Dictatorship? It can't happen here.
May 10th, 1933, Berlin. In an effort to cleanse Germany of un-German books, 25,000 volumes are burned.
Burn Freud.
Burn Einstein.
Burn Kafka.
Burn Brecht.
Burn Sinclair Lewis. December 5th, 2023, the Fight Book Bans Act is introduced to the House of Representatives. Congressman Jamie Raskin, quote,
America is in the middle of an escalating book ban crisis that requires our full attention and strong response. Sinister campaigns to remove books from our schools and libraries are a hallmark of authoritarian and fascist regimes.
Ban Atwood. Ban me? Margaret Atwood? Quoting her, I had thought America was against totalitarianisms. If so, surely it is important for young people to be able to recognize signs of them. One of those signs is book banning. Need I say more?
Ban Morrison. Ban me? Toni Morrison? Quote, I come from a race of people for whom at one time in this country it was illegal to be taught to read. White people who taught black people how to read were taking the risk of being punished. I think the same sensibilities that informed those people to make it a criminal act for black people to read are the ancestors of the same people who are making it a criminal act for their own children to read. And I don't see a great deal of difference between that.
Ban Henry Louis Gates.
Ban me. Censorship is to art as lynching is to justice.
but can it happen here?
It is happening here.
Nothing like that is happening here.
It just looks like it's happening here, but it's really not.
Okay, maybe it's happening just a little bit in Florida, okay? And like Texas or whatever.
But this is America.
This is America.
It
can't happen here.
Well, that's a relief. Except, but really? Why are you so certain it can't?
November 12th, 2023, at a rally in Claremont, New Hampshire.
The former President of the United States, campaigning for his third consecutive nomination to be Republican candidate for president, said,
We pledge to you, we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections. The threat from outside forces is less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within.
Threat from within? What does that mean? Who is he talking about?
By Act 3 of It Can't Happen Here, Doremus Jessup is tortured and imprisoned in a concentration camp for seditious writing, critical of the Windrip administration.
He dreams of escape to a better place.
Think of being in a place where you can speak right out without looking back over your shoulder. Think of Montreal.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming. Your concern, your patriotism, my, that's a tricky word, is deeply moving to me, to my memory. My name is Dorothy Thompson. I lived from 1893 to 1961 and enjoy the wonderful distinction of being the first American journalist to be expelled from Nazi Germany in 1934. I wrote the book I Saw Hitler, out of print, alas, but quite the sensation at my time, and described the man thus. He is formless, he is inconsequent and voluble, ill-poised and insecure. He is the very prototype of a little man. Ring any bells? I was married to Sinclair Lewis. He also wrote a book that was quite a sensation at the time, but his is still very much in print. The bastard. What did I learn from my time in Germany? When our dictator turns up, you can depend on it that he will be one of the boys. He will stand for everything traditionally American, and nobody will say Heil to him, nor call him Führer or Duce. They will greet him with one great big universal democratic sheep-like bleat of, "Okay, Chief, fix it like you want it, Chief, okay." My greatest concern in 1936, yes, but to all of you in 2024, perhaps even more so, is this. You have moved so far away from an informed public to a persuaded public. When liberty is taken away by force, it can be restored by force. But when it is relinquished by default, it can never be recovered.
Dorothy Thompson, as I live and breathe, and I don't. Not since 1967, may I rest in peace. I'm the other Dorothy, the funny one. I'm Dorothy Parker, and I hear you. When editors asked me what I was doing to combat fascism, I could only answer, not enough. My last editor asked, "God damn it, why can't you be funny again?"
In 1938, Dorothy Parker helped found the Hollywood Anti-Nazi League. When she died in 1967, she bequeathed her estate to Martin Luther King, Jr.
Like so many writers who were anti-fascist activists in the 1930s, I was blacklisted in the 1950s by the distinguished Republican from Wisconsin, Senator Joe McCarthy.
I have here in my hand a list of 205 people that were known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party.
One of the many times when it did happen here. God damn it. Why can't I make that sound funny?
Before the internet,
And podcasts,
And blogs.
long before 8-track tapes,
and television,
And color movies.
there was only radio.
And in 1936, if you wanted to win the presidency, you absolutely had to have the support of
Father Charles Coughlin.
The radio priest,
demagogue, and master of the medium.
reaching a quarter of all Americans every week.
In the play, Lewis calls him Pastor Paul Peter Prang.
Today, we might call him Fox.
Spoiler alert, FDR did not have the support of either Father Charles Coughlin.
Of course he did not have my support. Democracy in America is doomed. This is our last election. It is fascism or communism. We're at a crossroads. I take the road to fascism.
Father, what?
And when we get through with the Jews of America, they'll think the treatment they received in Germany was nothing.
Nor did FDR have the support of Pastor Paul Peter Prang, the fictional father in Lewis's play, whose imitation of Coughlin wasn't terribly exaggerated.
I am Pastor Peter Paul Prang, and while I have no quarrel with individual Jews, those subversive and international organizations, which unfortunately are so largely Jewish, must be driven with whips and scorpions from off the face of the earth.
Today we have Tucker Carlson.
Kamala Harris is a member of the new master race. She must be thrown maximum respect at all times, no matter what she says or does.
And Alex Jones.
Unfortunately, folks, we gotta help the innocents and face the demons that have taken over. We gotta face it. Most of your top government people are child rapists, murdering scum. I've told you everything else. You've seen it come true. It's a pedophile army.
And a former
President of the United States.
ordered by a Manhattan jury to pay $83 million for defaming a woman he raped in a department store.
What was the reaction of the former
President of the United States.
as he left the courtroom?
This is not America.
Actually, it is.
This is not America.
It is, actually. Yep. Sure is. Nobody above the law? Yeah, that's pretty much how it's supposed to work, actually.
This is not America. This is not America. Not.
Yes, it is.
As long as the Supreme Court doesn't grant the president immunity.
Fearing for his precarious hold on power, in Sinclair Lewis's play, President Buzz Windrip raises an armed militia.
An armed militia which is independent of established government agencies.
An armed militia which is directly accountable to President Windrip.
An armed militia which imprisons,
Assaults?
And murders American citizens who disagree in any way with President Windrip.
An armed militia with the one sole function of intimidating dissent.
In Sinclair Lewis's fiction, they are called
the
Minutemen.
In 2024 in America, they are called
Army of God,
Aryan Nation,
Boogaloo Boys,
Oath Keepers,
Flight League.
Proud Boys,
Patriot Movement,
Imperial Clans of America.
QAnon,
All awaiting instructions from their commander-in-chief.
I am your voice. I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged or betrayed,
Instructions which may be issued on January 6th
I am your retribution.
or on any other day.
Stand back and stand by.
Sinclair Lewis ended his play, It Can't Happen Here, with the admonishment, remember everything. Remember America.
but what America are we exactly to remember?
In the America I remember, I can check out any book from the library and read all the possibilities. I imagine freely. No books are banned or burning in the America I remember.
In the America I remember, I can seek help when my body and future are in danger. I have choice.
I remember never having a lockdown drill, never having heard the word school shooting. I can go to school unafraid in the America I remember.
The America I remember opens its golden door and cries, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
I remember all of our votes being counted. Fair and free elections being fair and free. America, I remember.
Remember with us.
Remember everything.
Remember
America.
But how? How are we going to do that?
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, from border to border and coast to coast and all the ships at sea. This is Walter Winchell. Let's get to press.
Remember that Sinclair Lewis's play was seen across the nation 1 week before the 1936 presidential.
The election results are in. President Roosevelt has carried every state in the nation except 2.
Remember America.
As Maine goes, so goes Vermont.
Remember your sacred duty as a citizen of this nation.
Vote.
In
In November 1936, vote.
We did.
This is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and it is my privilege to serve as your newly re-elected president. I see a great nation upon a great continent, but here is a challenge to our democracy. I see tens of millions of its citizens denied the necessities of life. 1/3 of a nation ill-housed, ill-clad, ill-nourished. We are determined to make every American citizen the subject of this country's interest and concern. I shall do my utmost to speak their purpose and to do their will, to give light to them that sit in darkness, and to guide our feet onto the way of peace.
Remember, America.
Remember, America.
But what do we do?
What do we do?
Pay attention.
What do we do?
Get involved. What do we do?
Ask a question.
What do we do?
Read.
What do we do?
Listen closely.
What do we do?
Give respect.
What do we do?
Challenge authority.
What do we do?
Think.
What do we do?
Say their names.
What do we do? Believe women. What do we do?
What do we do? Stay awake.
What do we do?
Act.
What do we do?
Open your mind.
What do we do? Get the facts. What do we do?
What do we do?
What do we do?
Vote.
What do we do?
Vote.
What
do we do?
Vote. What do we do? Vote.
What do we do?
Vote!
We are the Writers for Democratic Action, and we approve this gathering. Thank you for coming.
It must not happen here.
Get out the vote.
As fishes are in deep water, so are we in the air. As fishes are in deep water, so are we in the air. As fishes are in deep water, so are we